Welcome to Hot Drama TV.
In every artist's journey, there are years that pass quietly, serving only as preparation, and then there are moments that become turning points, when one must finally confront the most important questions. Who am I in this world, and how far do I want to go? For Liu Yuning, the year 2026 feels very much like such a moment. There are no loud declarations, no dramatic proclamations of ambition, yet the projects associated with him suggest a clear shift. He is entering a different phase of his career, one defined by choice, intention, and a growing awareness of the kind of actor he wishes to become. Liu Yuning entered the entertainment industry through music, and for a long time the public saw him first and foremost as a singer. His deep, husky voice, heavy with emotion and solitude, made him a familiar presence in popular drama soundtracks, songs that lingered long after the final episode, echoing unfinished stories and unspoken regrets. Because of that background, when he began acting, the reactions were inevitably mixed with curiosity and doubt. Many dismissed him as a singer trying to act, pointing out his rough edges and moments of awkwardness, arguing that his performances lacked the refinement needed to carry emotionally complex roles. Yet Liu Yuning never rushed to defend himself. Instead, he chose to move slowly, to accept roles, to endure scrutiny, and to let time answer on his behalf. This is why the emergence of the modern drama All Things in the Heart about love feels less like just another project and more like a carefully considered step. Modern dramas, especially those rooted in everyday emotional realities, are among the most unforgiving genres for any actor. There are no historical costumes to create distance, no fantasy settings to soften flaws. Everything is exposed. The audience does not observe a character through layers of stylization. They look directly into the actor's eyes, expressions, and silences. One false note, one forced moment, and the illusion collapses. For that reason, the news that Liu Yuning may take on a leading role in All Things in the Heart, potentially opposite Wang Ziwen, an actress renowned for her subtle, restrained emotional work, has drawn particular attention. If the drama indeed focuses on mature relationships and the emotional landscapes of adults who have loved, lost, and learned to choose again, then this is territory uniquely suited to him. He does not need to portray youthful impulsiveness or manufacture dramatic intensity. What is required instead is presence, restraint, and honesty, qualities that have quietly become part of his screen persona. There is something inherently world-weary about Liu Yuning, a sense of lived experience that exceeds his actual age. Perhaps it comes from a career built without shortcuts, from years spent standing on uncertain ground before recognition arrived. Whatever the source, that faint exhaustion in his gaze feels authentic rather than performed. Placed within a modern story like All Things in the Heart, and guided by careful direction, this quality could result in a performance that feels lived in rather than acted. It may not dazzle at first glance, but it could linger, like someone once important, not always present, yet never entirely forgotten. Alongside this relatively concrete project, rumors surrounding Liu Yuning's possible involvement in When the Endless Rain Falls, expected around the second quarter of 2026, open up a very different emotional landscape. Even the title alone evokes a specific mood, not a sudden downpour, but a persistent, unrelenting rain that seeps quietly into everything. These are stories that do not rely on sharp climaxes, but on atmosphere, silence, and what remains unsaid. If All Things in the Heart represents a test of Liu Yuning's ability to embody everyday realism, then When the Endless Rain Falls, should it come to fruition, would be a test of emotional sensitivity. And in this regard, he possesses an advantage not all actors have. He is, at his core, a storyteller through music. A singer accustomed to shaping emotion through rhythm, pauses, and restraint often carries an intuitive understanding of emotional timing into acting. He knows when to stop, when to pull back, when a single glance can speak louder than dialogue. This is why audiences can so easily imagine him in roles defined by melancholy and introspection, characters who do not need to explain themselves, but whose presence alone carries emotional weight. If he does take part in When the Endless Rain Falls, it may become the project where his two artistic identities, singer and actor, merge most seamlessly, allowing emotion not merely to be performed, but genuinely felt. Taken together, the projects associated with Liu Yuning in 2026 suggest a deliberate refusal to chase easy momentum or fleeting popularity. Instead of pursuing roles designed for instant impact, he seems drawn to stories that move slowly, that demand patience from both performer and audience. In an industry increasingly obsessed with speed and spectacle, this is a risky choice, but also a revealing one. It suggests a desire for longevity rather than immediacy, for substance rather than noise. Perhaps 2026 will not be the year Liu Yuning reaches the peak of his fame, but it may well be the year he finds the role that stays, the role that finally shifts the conversation from a singer acting to simply a character portrayed with quiet truth. And sometimes in art, being believed is a greater achievement than any number or headline. If these projects unfold as hoped, audiences may find themselves waiting not just to see how Liu Yuning performs, but to witness how he continues to change, slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a rain that never falls loudly, yet lasts long enough to soften even the hardest memories. Beyond the projects themselves, what makes this moment in Liu Yuning's career particularly compelling is the quiet shift in how he is being positioned, and how he appears to be positioning himself. He is no longer chasing roles that demand instant recognition or dramatic transformation. Instead, there is a growing sense that he is seeking characters who resemble real people. Imperfect, hesitant, shaped by loss as much as by love. These are roles that do not announce themselves loudly, but reveal their meaning gradually, through accumulation rather than spectacle. In recent years, the industry has increasingly favored actors who can generate immediate online buzz, whose performances translate easily into short clips and viral moments. Against that backdrop, Liu Yuning's trajectory feels almost countercurrent. His strengths do not lie in explosive emotional outbursts or exaggerated gestures, but in endurance, the ability to sustain a mood, to hold a feeling long enough for the audience to recognize it within themselves. This is perhaps why his performances, much like his music, tend to grow on viewers over time rather than captivating them at first glance. There is also an underlying vulnerability in his acting that cannot be manufactured. It comes from a visible awareness of limitation, from the knowledge that he is still learning. Rather than hiding this, Liu Yuning seems to incorporate it into his performances, allowing moments of uncertainty to exist on screen. In doing so, he creates characters who feel human not because they are flawless, but because they are searching, often unsure, often incomplete. If 2026 truly becomes a year of consolidation rather than expansion, it may mark the point at which Liu Yuning's acting identity stabilizes. Not as a star defined by a single iconic role, but as an actor whose presence carries a recognizable emotional texture. Viewers may not always remember the plot details of his dramas, but they may remember how his characters made them feel. The quiet heaviness, the restrained longing, the sense of something left unsaid. And perhaps that is where his lasting value lies. In a landscape crowded with noise, there is room for artists who understand the power of understatement. Liu Yuning does not demand attention. He waits for it. Like the rain suggested in one of his rumored projects, he does not arrive in a sudden storm, but settles in slowly, altering the emotional terrain almost without notice. In the end, what audiences may come to appreciate most about Liu Yuning is not how dramatically he can transform, but how consistently he remains sincere. His journey into acting has never been about proving superiority or conquering a new field. It has been about learning to listen to his characters, to his own instincts, and to the quiet spaces between words. If the coming projects allow him to continue in this direction, then 2026 will not simply be another year on his resume, but a chapter in which he quietly claims his place as an actor worth waiting for.